Welcome to Chicago, Mr. Hausman.
Go Cubs, go Cubs. I'm here to help them celebrate their big win. Man, I can't believe I'm alive to see this.
Oh, by the looks of it, I would have sworn you were here for the last win.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the show, No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman. I'm so pleased to have you here today, and you know what? I'm trying to think of new ways to welcome everybody to the show, and I'd like your help. So drop me a line at Traveling Glenn on Twitter and let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to have to start each show with something horrible, such as ahoy, mateys, or aloha, or something like that, and I don't think that's going to be good for either one of us. Be sure to read my columns twice a week in hotelmanagement.net, and don't forget, drop me a line whenever you want to talk about anything. Have great questions to glenn@rouse.media. And also, like us on iTunes. But before I get into my spiel about that, I want to welcome back the punk rock chef himself, Mr. Chip English. How are you, sir?
Good. Good morning, Glenn. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad that you can make it back. I had such a great time working with you on the last show. And for everyone listening, I want you to go back and listen to the show. It's titled Armchair Chefs, and it is absolutely fabulous. I had a great time with Chip. And I think, unfortunately, Chip, we set the bar a little bit high, so we're getting a lot of pressure for us today.
No problem. There's plenty of stuff that annoy me that we could talk about.
Good, and we are definitely going to talk about things that annoy you. But here's one thing, Chip, that didn't annoy me. You know, last week on the program, I ran a show with Marco Rocca, and he runs all the development with Hard Rock International for their hotels. And believe it or not, we saw a record number of downloads for any single show, even beating out when I had the CEO of Best Western on a couple of weeks ago, and somehow even more than the show that you were on, which makes me sad there, Chip.
Well, Hard Rock's a hard gig to beat, obviously. They take a lot of money from gamblers so they can spend it back that way. I unfortunately do not have the budget that they do, so it does make it a little bit tougher for me. They have some of my money, as a matter of fact. I think the last time I was in Biloxi, I dropped about $1,000 there. So
hey, well, congratulations to Hard Rock for taking all of Chip's money. And I said, and the great thing is the show's really starting to take off, and I want to thank each and every one of you listeners out there. We're getting more and more and more downloads every single week. Believe it or not, my downloads for October were as much for the first 3 months of the show combined. Man, are we picking up some heat here, Chip? So it's really exciting stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right. So for you guys out there, help me make the show even better. Like the show on iTunes. I know it's a real pain in the neck, but what is it going to take for me to get you to do this? I need some more likes on there so that way we can spread the love, spread the word on this show, and get everybody listening. That won't piss me off. But, when it comes to food, there's a lot of things that really annoy me, Chip, and that's why I got you back on the show to talk about some of those things that we find kind of frustrating out there.
I don't want to be the professional on your podcast here that is the guy that's annoyed by everything, the chef that's annoyed by everything. I think that Bourdain's already filled those shoes, so I can't really follow in his first day footsteps.
Well, yeah, I get that, but he's kind of moved on to the righteous world of trying to bring cultures together through food and making us understand that Palestinians and Israelis can break bread together and have some love. So, I think there's still room to complain about stuff. It's one of my favorite pastimes, and I understand if you don't want to get too deep into complaining because, hey, you've got an image to protect there, right?
I am typically known as a little bit nicer in the kitchen, and those years of very angry chefs are gone, so there are still things, idiosyncrasies in the world that annoy all of us, but just to a certain extent. It's not something that keeps me awake at night, I can tell you that. So, after a couple of Jamesons, we're pretty good. I think I could settle down after work.
So tell me, Chip, when you first started in the business, what was it like working in the kitchen? Was it still like that rough and tumble world like Anthony Bourdain talked about in his first books?
Well, when I first started in kitchens was 31 years ago. So
what were you, a zygote?
What's that? I'm sorry.
What were you, a zygote back then?
No, I started at 14. My father gave me, he said, you're old enough to get a job, you're old enough to contribute. So I got a job as a dishwasher. It was like a block away from my house. Worst job ever. It stunk to high hell every night that I came home. And, it was after work and then during the summers. It was $3.34 an hour. My dad made me pay the electric bill, and that was my contribution, and I could keep anything and spend it any way I saw fit. So skateboards and Mountain Dew, I was rich back then.
Well, I know we laugh because we did get paid that kind of money. I think you said $3.34. I have a distinct memory of being paid $3.35 at my first job. So I don't like
maybe
to.
It was $3.35.
Maybe I don't know. Either way, I like to show off by all the big bucks that I earned. My first job was not nearly that exotic. It's kind of lame doing some stuff for my dad and then doing some stuff in an old catalog warehouse store called Consumers Distributors, where people would fill out what they wanted from the catalog on a piece of paper. They'd hand it to me, and then I'd have to run around and go fetch it myself, and then bring it up to the room. So not too good. But my first restaurant job was at Wendy's, and I was on the doing the fries over there. So, man, I used to get that same smell that I think you had.
So let me see if I hear this correctly about your catalog days.
Yes.
Were you and your father pioneers in, say, something like an Amazon?
No, my father was an attorney, and I just did some putting stuff into a computer with him. Now, this is like big time. This was back in 1982, so having a computer is a big deal. Separately from that, I worked at a store called Consumer Distributors, and I guess it was an Amazon type of store. We used to have those stores in New York, and basically you would go and you'd flip through a giant catalog book of all of these products instead of walking around a showroom, and then you'd take a piece of paper and you'd fill out how the quantity you wanted and the product number. Then they'd hand it over to a runner such as myself, and then like Amazon, I'd have to go into the warehouse and fetch it and bring it up to the front. So not very exciting stuff, and didn't really require a lot of skill. Which is
Job's
good.
a job, though.
Yeah, which is good.
When you get taught responsibility that young, you end up always having a job. And I think the longest stretch I've ever gone without a job is maybe a summer since I was 14. So, we're looking – I'm not going to give away my age, but a pretty freaking long time.
I hate to say it, but you already did earlier in the show. If people put together how many years you've been in the business and the age you got your first job, well, sorry about that, dude. But I still think that you're lying about your age, and you're probably eternally 29 as far as I'm concerned.
It's good genes.
Yeah.
I drink a gallon of water a day, and I have a lot of sex, so that keeps me young.
Right. Well, I drink water, so at least I got that going for me.
I learned that from Iggy Pop years ago. I did an interview with Iggy Pop, and he's like, I drink a gallon of water a day, and I do it all the time. I was like, I'm doing that from now on.
I got the first part down. I just can't figure out how to get that second part going. What are you going to do? I'll get that figured out right away as possibly as I can. But you know what, Chip, one of the things that's really been aggravating me lately is getting sick and tired of hamburger places. 5 years ago, it was really great. But now, geez, man, I don't know. I think that the three most predominant stores that I see, I was in Colorado, they would be check cashing stores, weed stores, and hamburger joints. And I think that's too many hamburger joints.
Man, somebody owns that conglomerate and is brilliant. They're like, the stoners come from work, they get a little weed, and then we're going to feed them some burgers. We are set. This is it. I'm the Ted Turner of Colorado. I'm taking over the whole thing.
Right. Well, I want to see less hamburger places and more places serving chicken and waffles. I think, to me, that is my panacea. I don't know if you're a big chicken and waffle fan. I know that you...
I hate it.
You hate it.
Well, here's the thing. I live in the South, okay?
Right.
Chicken and waffles have been around for a long time, even though you're looking at something like Gladys Knight and, in Atlanta. But, in Harlem and stuff like that, they had chicken and waffles ages ago. This has been around for a long time. The thing is that it's really just caught on.
Yes.
Within the last, say, 2 to 3 years, and it's on every menu.
Yeah.
Like shrimp and grits. Too much. I get it. Southern cuisine has become somewhat of a popular thing to do, slow cooking, that movement.
Right.
But
I love slow cooking and that movement. Not a fan of shrimp and grits, though, no matter how many times I try it.
I just don't need to see chicken and waffles on a white tablecloth menu. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually was having a debate with my with my kids the other day about chicken and waffles. I happen to be a big fan of chicken and waffles as a Northeast guy here on Long Island.
Sure.
Relatively new for me. So I think I first had chicken and waffles at the Hash House of Go-Go in Las Vegas about 5 or 6 years ago, and it really opened my mind to a fabulous new food. Mostly probably as a hangover cure, but I don't say that because I live a very temperate life. But
So wait,
what was that, Chip?
Let me get this straight.
Yeah.
You were having chicken and waffles as a hangover cure at a place called Hash House a Go-Go.
Yes.
To me, it sounds like hash browns, eggs, and strippers. And I think that would knock a hangover out of anyone. I mean, it's a cure-all.
Well, unfortunately, there are no strippers, but there are lots of hipster servers. So, and oddly enough, not in Brooklyn. It was in Vegas, so I don't know where they got all the hipsters from, but God bless them. But anyway, I got exposed to the chicken and waffles. Love the chicken and waffles, and I spend a lot of time on Facebook sharing my photos of chicken and waffles, and I'm sorry that this is going to cause a rift between us because I thought we were getting along so great, Chip, but...
It's fine. I can make it worse as we are right in that part of the season. How about a pumpkin spice chicken and waffles?
Oh.
I mean, seriously, don't make me reach through the phone and slap you.
Right,
because I will with a pumpkin spice. It drives me bananas. Stop it with the pumpkin.
Yes, Chip, thank you. I'm here with you, and I love you for saying it. I'm so sick of pumpkin spice. Everything. I know I put up on Facebook a comment on it, and you actually told me you like cooking with pumpkins, which surprised me.
I do. I like cooking with pumpkin. But pumpkin spice is really just, you've got your combinations of nutmeg and allspice, cinnamons and things like that. And it's just, it's a really, really annoying way to say that you're drinking a milkshake and not coffee.
That's so true. I mean, I am not one for the fancy coffee beverages at all. I like my coffee straight up black, hot, and dark roast. Anything other than that, I find a real affront to the coffee gods out there. But that's just me. If I wanted some of these other drinks, I would just have some sweet tarts or Fun Dip, and I think they would probably serve the same purpose.
I'm walking around my house with a cup of coffee in my hand right now, as a matter of fact. And I personally have the theory that it should taste like what it actually is. Ground up bark.
Right.
Okay? It should taste like a milkshake. It's ground up beans. It's bark. It's trees. Give me a break. That's what it's supposed to taste like. Crappy.
All right. Yes.
If it was good, it wouldn't wake anybody up and put you to sleep. You're defeating the purpose.
That's right. I do not want to be calmed by my coffee. That would be an absolute terrible thing out there. All right. So let me rewind the conversation back to these hamburger places, right? They really have just frustrated me. Not the idea itself, but I just feel like it's a symbolism. It's a symbolic of lost creativity in restaurant development. Everybody's just going to this one thing because others are making money at it, and it seems easy. And that's really what's annoying me. How do you see it?
Well, Glenn, I mean, you pose a really good question. I mean, obviously the hamburger places popped up. The great burger chains have always been around, but really boutique-type burgers, artisanal burgers, things like that, popped up, let's say, within the last 10 years. Okay, and that was due to a recession and people still wanting to have their red meat. Because as Americans, we're never gonna release our death grip on that visceral eating experience that is red meat, that dead cow on your plate.
Absolutely, something Oprah Winfrey is very familiar with.
Yes, but going through the recession, not everybody could afford to go out and have, great steaks, prime meats, and things like that. And the burger craze popped up, which was completely fine. Here's the thing. If you have a burger place and a burger without any sides, without any drink, without any accoutrements or anything is already $14, you have defeated the purpose again. Stop it. A burger shouldn't be $15, man. That's not why people are eating those things. They're eating them because they're frickin' broke.
Right. That's so true.
And now it's been who can have the most expensive burger? Who can have the most farm-to-table, grass-fed, hormone-free, blah, blah, blah. Suck it. I don't care. Just make me a damn good burger that's cheap.
Yeah. And one of the things that I find is a lot of times PR people for these burger places will put out like the world's most expensive burger, and they'll have it like stuffed with foie gras and diamonds and charge like $20,000 a burger,
Listen, I'll tell you what. If I have the world's most expensive burger, I don't care about the flaw and all of that, but it better come with a hand job or something like that because it's got to be worth it other than the burger.
All right. I'm not sure if that'll mess up my clean content rating on iTunes over there, But I think
you can bleep that out.
No, I think
at least I didn't swear.
No, I think that what you were talking about is when we work really hard with our hands, and that's a good, honest, respectable job. So I'll say that. But you're right about the whole hamburger thing, and it seems to have lost its place. But it is, to me, that move that told a lot of chefs out there we need to be thinking about foods that aren't crazy expensive. Culturally, we've moved away in a lot of ways from that white tablecloth restaurants. And I also saw the whole tapas movement kind of explode at the same time there, which I liked a little better because at least it's a little variety of flavors.
Sure. I understand that. Yeah. I mean, it has its time. It has its place. Don't get me started on like right at the end of the burger craze. Before we are now, obviously, places are copying that recipe for success. But there was a moment there for about a year and a half that people tried to replicate that in the hot dog world, you know?
Oh,
and if you're paying, seriously, if you're paying $15 for a hot dog, just come over to my house. I'll kick you in the ass, and you can give me the money. We'll be fine, you know, because it's the same thing. Here's some nitrates. Good luck with your cancer. You know, $15, please. I don't get it. You know,
we get these hormone-free, antibiotic-free, nitrate-free hot dogs. Turns out they're also taste-free, which is not so great.
Yeah, you know, when it comes to hormones, steroids, and all of that, don't get me started on that as well. What the American public does not know that marketing is used against them, like chickens saying, you know, they're steroid-free, hormone-free. Well, that actually was passed into law in 1986. So people that pop out of the woodworks nowadays and say, oh, well, our chicken is steroid-free and hormone-free, and we don't use any – no crap, you don't do it. It's against the law. Nobody does it. Stop it. You're like everybody else.
I did
don't
not
use that as
know
your marketing claw. You haven't tricked me.
Oh, well, they tricked me, and now at least we won't be fooled about that anymore. You know, one of the things that I'm seeing is like I see a package of nuts and it'll be like gluten-free. I'm like,
oh my! I saw bacon the other day and it said gluten-free. I'm like, well, like the hogs don't eat gluten? I mean, because I challenge you. What are they eating? Is it pumpkin spice? Right. I don't even know.
I could just totally see that in a farm out in Portland somewhere. Yes, we raise all of our beef on pumpkin spice.
I don't want my pig to be gluten-free or, you know, paleo or whatnot. I want them to be fat and happy and delicious and salty and bad for me. You know, I want them to die screaming. It's more delicious.
Right. So this overpriced hot dog thing, though, that's funny because really hot dog joints have not come into their own like hamburger places. I mean, sure, you're going to see them on the city streets in New York like you always have and as a street food, but they haven't really been able to successfully move into the restaurant world other than Pink's out in L.A.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And don't get me wrong. I'm talking about those, you know, quote unquote boutique hot dog places.
Yeah.
Street food, New York, Chicago especially. Oh, a good Chicago dog. Philadelphia, you know, D.C., Boston, things like that where you have cart vendors that you can get, you know, 2 hot dogs for $1. You're like in Philly, I was getting 2 hot dogs for $1. I moved from Philly to Atlanta. I lost like 15 pounds because food was so cheap, you know, on the street there. It's like cheesesteaks for breakfast. Look at me, diabetes. But it's not it's certainly not that to be confused with the boutique places. Those street vendors, those hot dogs are amazing all the time. But they're exactly what they are. They're you know, it costs a nickel to put a dog into water that has been boiling for, you know, I don't know, 15 months.
Yes, exactly. And we always call them dirty water dogs in New York City.
Yeah.
And I love them. The only thing I like more than those are hot dogs you get at kosher restaurants that are in that nice casing. So they have that snap to them and a little bit of spiciness. Oh, now that's a hot
Absolutely.
dog.
Like Hebrew Nation dogs, woo, those are good.
All right, so here's the thing. I don't know where you come down on this, but I'm offended by yellow mustard on hot dogs. But it may be a geographical thing.
You know, seriously, that's it. We're breaking up. I think that you're working with the terrorists.
Right.
You know, communism, call it what you want. I don't know. Russia's coming back. Maybe you're a communist. I'm not sure.
This is where you start to do all those anti-Jew slurs against me because I like a spicy brown mustard, you know? So.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, yellow mustard.
Alert. I thought you were going to lean towards ketchup, in which case it was over between us.
I did in 1975 when I was 4 years old.
Sure, when you were a kid.
Yes.
Because that's what ketchup is made for. It's made for children. It's all sugar.
Actually, you know, part of the Jewish bar mitzvah ritual is when you move from ketchup to spicy brown mustard on your hot dogs, I think.
Hava, Nagila, Sriracha, Ketchup, Sriracha, Ketchup.
Right. Oi, have a Hebrew national. So, okay. So at least you like mustard over ketchup, but honestly, I'm curious as to what your opinion is on the yellow mustard versus spicy brown mustard.
I like them both. I think that they both have their place. I like a good French mustard. Dijon is one of the all-time best condiments ever. That still, I think, takes a back seat to the sriracha craze nowadays. But, Dijon is one of those timeless classics. But a good spicy brown mustard, maybe with a little Guinness stout in it, cooked, yourself. Oh, it's outstanding. And it has its place. Like on a good bratwurst, in Wrigley Field with some kraut, it's just outstanding. But a spicy, like a regular yellow mustard, I don't mind that either. I have an affinity for homemade grilled cheese sandwiches, with a pile of mustard, yellow mustard on the side that I just dip in. It's delicious.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of yellow mustard. It must be a regional thing and a cultural type of thing. And the other thing that we don't have here on Long Island, which may surprise you, is when you go to like a McDonald's or something, we only have ketchup that's served on the hamburgers, not ketchup and mustard like in a lot of other places in the country.
Yeah, that's correct. Here in Atlanta, if you go to one of those fast food joints, God forbid, you get ketchup and mustard on your faux burger patties.
Right. Yeah, I think that's I find that fascinating. All the different differences that we have in the regions with the condiments and the type of foods that we eat, which brings me back to shrimp and grits. I just don't appreciate it, and I keep trying and trying and trying. Why do you think a northerner doesn't understand the southern love of grits?
I don't know. The shrimp and grits is a phenomenon as well that I have a hard time getting down on. I'm not a big fan of grits because I am not a southerner. I'm a northerner, so it's like polenta, not grits.
Yeah.
However, I have been in some great southern cities where, I was insisted upon to try it. Like I was Charleston, South Carolina once, we're at one of these great places there, and they do it the best. They got their low country cuisine, it had a tasso ham gravy on it with these beautiful, lovely shrimp that were local, and a local stone ground grits. And for me, it was delicious. Is it something that I would eat all the time? No, it is not, because I don't know. Maybe I have a problem with hominy, but the texture is odd to me. The flavoring's not always off. People don't know how to cook them correctly.
Very good point.
There's the instant to fresh made grits, I could bring my cousin Vinny into this. The average grit eating world takes 20 minutes, and if you're not doing that, then you're breaking the law. I don't know.
Yeah, all right. Speaking about grits, I'm going to go to oatmeal, something else I don't really love.
Okay.
But one thing that's
and Andrew Zimmern are the only people on the face of the earth that don't like oatmeal.
Maybe if there was pumpkin spiced or something,
that guy can have balls in his mouth from across all kinds of nations, but oatmeal is where he draws the line.
Exactly. It's so true. All right. So my question about the oatmeal is, why by having it steel cut, all of a sudden is it better and you could charge twice as much for it? What the heck does that even mean?
Well, that would be exactly like putting on your chicken package, hormone steroid free, because people love buzzwords. There is a difference between steel cut, and rolled oats, and obviously the procedure, and it's a lengthy one and I wouldn't go into it, is more expensive to do. It is considered a healthier way to process, digest the oats, and it's also a cleaner, fresher, nicer taste.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. Not the exciting answer that I was hoping to hear from, but if I see I like
oatmeal. I dig it. I mean, as a kid, you get those flavor packages as like the variety pack or whatnot. I still eat that stuff. I like it. It's good for you. Mm-hmm. But as you get older, maybe you need a little extra fiber in your diet. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I know. I definitely need some more fiber in my diet, but that'll be for my new podcast launching next week, Poop Talk with Glenn Hausman. That'll be a great show. Wanted you all to tune in for that one. But more importantly, we're talking about some of these trends that are overexposed, that have been doing a little too much. Let's flip it. What do you think we're going to be eating now in the next couple of years? What's going to replace the hamburger place in terms of the pantheon of places that I'm going to want to go have a casual meal?
Great question. Well, chicken is making a huge comeback, as obviously people are becoming very weary of your now average burger place, they're still looking for a cheap alternative to dining out that may be, pub and grub or anything like that. And I've seen a great resurgence in chicken and places popping up that specialize simply in chicken, whether it be, bone on, bone off, half chickens, things like that, but really leaning towards using the chicken because it's such an affordable, great protein that has a lot of possibilities of things that you could do with it, whether it be classic roasting or, countless fresh. So I think that you'll see more and more of those within the next year, maybe two, of small, independent, and boutique-type places that do chicken and just chicken alone. Maybe with some great sides. You'll see a lot of Southern sides as well.
I love Southern
cuisine
sides.
has seen a resurgence.
Yeah, well, what I would really like is for someone to bring back Kenny Rogers Roasters. I thought that was the most awesomest chicken
We
chain.
can still get that. They still have like Boston Market. It's like identical. All they did was just rip that idea off.
I don't know. I like the Kenny Rogers Roasters much more than Boston Market. I've never been a fan of Boston Market. Not to offend, Mr. Boston Market out there, but it just never worked for me ever.
Well, listen, when you put up the post for this podcast, I will do you a favor, and I will also post a step-by-step recipe for roasting the perfect chicken, which we've been doing at home a lot. And I'll put things on Facebook and try to, teach people or how to utilize the entire chicken. You're roasting it down and then you're using the skin for something different. You're maybe using the thighs for something different. And then you're using the bones to make your stocks and whatnot. So I can get 5-10 different dishes out of one chicken.
Wow.
And that feeds me and my wife really, to the point she's like, don't buy any more chicken. I'm sick of it. but I was following the Thomas Keller Bible of roasted chicken. Just keep it dry, keep it simple, trust the legs, and let her go. Crispy skin, and it's delicious. It's so simple that it's a great experience. A little lemon and a little thyme to finish, and you have one of the most simple, elegant things of all time. It's extremely affordable. You can get a roaster in your average megalo marts, whatever, for under $10. And if you think about it, 5 to 10 meals is really doing pretty well.
That's pretty spectacular. I'd love to see that recipe, but why should I go ahead and cook it the way you're talking about, as opposed to just buying the rotisserie chickens that they seem to be giving away these days?
Because you're not lazy.
Oh. Yeah.
And everybody should know how to roast a chicken.
I think you're right.
I think it doesn't require a chef or training or any kind of schooling or working in restaurants to make a good chicken at home. And as opposed to, I hate to say this because there's nothing wrong with the rotisserie chicken, but you don't know whose hands have been on it. You don't know what they're using to spice it on. You don't know if the chicken has any kind of water pump in it, where it came from, anything like that. I mean, if you can latch on to something local in your market, local chickens from anywhere, 250-mile radius, that's good. You know where your chickens come from. Maybe, you might do a little research on your farmer, get them, even go out to the farm and check it out,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really funny. Did you ever see that skit on Portlandia? I think it was the first episode of the series, and I recommend you guys watching it on Netflix. But what was really funny is the person who's at there. It's a restaurant with a couple eating dinner, or they want to eat dinner, and the waitress comes over and the couple starts asking them questions. Tell us about the chicken. And they said, it was raised at this farm. They're like, what was the chicken's name? Did it have a good lifestyle? Then they finally just get up and go check out the farm themselves, which is really funny.
See, there's nothing wrong with trying to get into your food and where it comes from and whatnot. But those annoying customers that come into restaurants nowadays, too many questions. And I watch the Food Network way too much, Seriously, sooner or later, these people are going to get the sense knocked out, slapped. Just stop it, go away. Yeah, I saw a great meme on Facebook the other day that said, "Hey, we're gluten free. We don't eat gluten. We don't eat nuts. We don't eat dairy. We don't eat GMO. Blah blah blah. What do you suggest we get?" And then the meme on the waitress said, "The F out."
Yeah, I was going to say Soylent Green, but yes, the F out's even better.
Oh, man.
All right. Too funny.
Yeah, I haven't watched Portlandia, but that is a great comedy team. And I know I've read quite a bit about it, and I can see that as being a fantastic skit.
It is. It's a great show. I love watching it when I do have a chance to watch it, which is very rare. I don't get to watch much TV shows. I keep hoping I'm going to start watching, The Walking Dead or American Horror Story or all these other shows that I'm told I absolutely have to watch, but I just don't.
Yeah, I get told that all the time, too. Haven't seen an episode. I've never seen an episode of The Sopranos.
Yeah, but here's something to really turn people off. But I watched it. I'm just not into mafia stuff. It didn't do anything for me.
I'm not into shows that you have to follow. Like,
yep.
I can't, if you watch the first episode and I pick it up again in 4 weeks because I've been out working, because I have a job that, requires me to be there a lot. If I miss a few episodes, am I going to be behind and it not make any sense? I don't have time for that.
Right. Yeah. I've actually been watching a lot of Alton Brown's Good Eats also on Netflix, some of the older shows, because it's, 23 minutes, and that's about all my attention span can handle. And I'm learning a couple of things about, what you were already an expert in. So it's fun.
I occasionally watch those as well. Alton Brown was absolutely a pioneer in kind of bringing science into food. And I think that that's very important, that people understand how food works, how it affects you, the nutritional value of it and whatnot. And I think that was a brilliant show still to today. I can go back and watch it again and again. He's really good at it. And he's quite the entertainer, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure does. And I'd love to be able to do some stuff like that in the future. So, hey, TV executives listening to this, give Chip and me a show, because we'd really knock it out of the park. Right, Chip?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Awesome.
Knock it out of the park. You mean like the Cubs are going to tonight, hopefully?
Well, we'll see. Well, this show's going to air on Friday, 2 days after. Oh. So you think that the Cubs will be World Series champions?
Okay, yes, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. We're so glad the Cubs won. Yeah!
Maybe you should give me an Indians one now, and then we could edit it in afterwards, so you're guaranteed to be right.
You just go back and bleep it out later on. Yeah. Insert team here.
Right? Yeah, I'll put in an H job or something like that over it, so that way we keep it clean. All right, we are so out of time, Chip, but I know there's a lot more things we could talk about, and we're going to have you on again, I hope, real soon. But most important, how could people connect with you?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Chip English, Chef Chip English, or Punk Rock Chef. Any one of those. Any dozen of the social media sites. It's all under the same names, either Chip English or Punk Rock Chef.
Great. Excellent. And I will make sure that we have everything that you need to know about Chip English in the show notes so you guys can connect with him. And I want to say that this was a fun time talking to you. I always laugh a lot when we do these conversations, and I look forward to having you back soon. And now for everyone listening, remember, like me on iTunes. Seriously, if you don't like me on iTunes, I'm going to start to get a complex here. I'm going to start to feel bad about myself, and I already feel bad enough. I mean, we've been talking about my Jewish heritage. If you know anything about it, I constantly feel guilty. It's part of my soul. So cheer me up. Give me some likes and make it happen for me. And I want to thank you guys again for listening. I have so much fun doing this show every single week. Now, I want you to stay tuned, because as soon as we get back from commercial break, I'm going to have a great interview for you to hear. I tell you exactly who it is right now, but I'm not exactly sure which one I'm going to pair it with the show with. So there you go. Thanks, and we'll be right back after this message.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to the No Vacancy podcast with me, Glenn Hausman. You're listening to this right now. That's right. Right now. You're listening. But you're not the only one. Many others are too. So my question is, do you want to get noticed? Guess what? I can help you with that. Every single month, my content delivers more than 100,000 impressions. I know. I thought the same thing too. Now it's your time to get you or your product, service, or brand known by leveraging my network. I'll work with you to find creative solutions that are going to get your message to the ears and eyes that you need to attract. Just send me a note at glenn@rouse.media or find me on Twitter @travelingglenn. That's glenn@rouse.media, ROUSE.MEDIA. And while we're at it, Glenn has got 2 N's. Thanks for listening, and now back to more great content. I love going to casinos. It's a big part of my life. And I think one of the things that I really like about the casino business is I'm not a big gambler myself. Like I'm the type of guy that starts to get cold, hot sweats, cold sweats, all sorts of sweats for dropping $20. So I think I'd be well suited for actually working in the casino business, but so I wouldn't gamble so much. And my love of casinos goes a long way, which is why I have Vince Lentini here. He's the SVP of Marketing with Affinity Gaming. And Vince, I want to welcome you to the show, but also, how cool is it to be an SVP of Marketing with a casino company?
It's I wake up every day and say, I found an industry that I'm passionate about. I found a discipline that is much more fun than my traditional training. I started off in the casino world on the finance side, and was head of finance for properties for a period of time, and ultimately said, you know what, I think it's much more fun to go and spend the money than it is to count the money. So I'm incredibly lucky. I worked for an organization here at Caesars that believed if you were successful in one discipline that you could apply that pattern to another, and ultimately had ended up as the chief marketing officer of a gaming company out in Vegas.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And I know you had a stop over at Hard Rock as well, which coincidentally, I had those guys on a recent show for their hotel division. And boy, they are exploding all over the place. But again, I love the casino gaming business. It's so interesting. And the marketing, I think, in casino gaming has really changed a lot in the time that you've been doing it, especially with the way that social media has taken off and the way that we connect with individual players so much. What was it like when you first started? You've been in the business now more than 13 years, so you were probably starting around the time where people were still dropping quarters into machines all the time, right?
That's correct. I wish I was only in the business for 13 years.
Well,
but from an age perspective, but.
Right.
When I first started, my first job in the casino industry was as marketing analyst for a guy named Jeff Hook, who's down with Hard Rock and the Seminole Tribe. And, Jeff was had an advertising background, so he had some pretty incredible ideas on the branding side of it, on the promotional side of it. But at the same time, he had a pretty analytical mind and can look at the business. The way that the marketing in casinos has shifted, it's been from, we were promotionally driven, we were advertising, and then all of a sudden everybody realized, look at all the data that we're getting, and we've become analytical marketers that make data-driven decisions against their spend and their customer set.
And that's what I find really, really fascinating is how far you folks have taken it. And I wish the hotel industry would really figure it out in the way that you folks have on the gaming side, because you seem to really have a sixth sense about not just players in general, about each and every one of them.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have gotten to the point where, as a casino industry, it's kind of standard, best in class, that you do one-to-one marketing to customers based upon their revenue trends, their frequency, their profitability. And we've gotten to a point in which we can execute against that pretty successfully. So we're getting the right offers at the right time to the customers in the majority of our markets that we operate in. And, the hotel business is actually ahead of the curve against the casino industry on the digital marketing side. Mm-hmm. So, that's one of the things that what we adopted in the casino world, but haven't truly embraced it and are best in class in it.
That's interesting. Why do you think that is? Because that's not the vision I have of what you folks are up to.
Yeah, no, I mean, so there's a couple of different things. One is are you a regional company or are you a Las Vegas company in America?
Right.
And the regional companies understand that they're 60-70% rated revenue. They can talk to their customers directly via direct mail or via emails. And in Las Vegas, because the split of spend is so much lower on the casino side, on the gaming side, I think some of those companies are doing some pretty good stuff digitally. But overall, as a enterprise, as a category, we're a little bit behind, say, the Hiltons, the Hyatts, the Marriotts, the big players in the world.
That's that again. It's really surprising to me. I would not have thought that. So, what is it that your customers are looking for in Las Vegas? And I'm speaking specifically now about the Silver Sevens Casino. Although Affinity Gaming has products that you've probably heard of under the name of Buffalo Bills and Whiskey Pete's and Prim Valley and Rail City and Golden Gates and Golden Gulch, all sorts of different brands all over. And I don't want to forget Mardi Gras Casino either. So it's a well-known brand, but in Las Vegas, you're really hitting the tourist market and the locals market, yes?
Yeah, so we have a little bit of a bifurcated strategy there. So on the casino side, we get a significant amount of our revenue from customers who live within, let's say, 3 miles of the property.
Right.
And the value proposition to those customers is really good fun, good slots, good food. And we've spent the 2 years that I've been here really trying to hammer that home and deliver a promise to those customers that that's what we're going to give you every time you walk into Silver Sevens and decide to gamble with us.
I find that so fascinating, Vince, because in the locals market in Vegas, everyone has their local casino. So when you brought up that 3 mile, line, I find that that's probably what everybody's kind of dealing with. Everyone picks their team that's real near the house, and they kind of stick with that, right?
Yeah, no, obviously for the local market, location dictates for frequency. Mm-hmm. So, people who live next to Red Rock Casino, for example, that's their casino of choice, and Silver Sevens is no different than that. The interesting thing is that as we do some of our intercept studies, as we do some of our other stuff, we find that our customers actually travel and actually go to places like Boulder Highway and Samstown and downtown. Really? Yeah, and they go out there and take advantage of some of the promotions on the off days where we're not as competitive in the promotional landscape.
That's interesting to me. I happen to be a big fan of what they've done with downtown Las Vegas, but I don't want to deter you listening out there from going to the Silver Sevens Hotel and Casino, which is right behind the Strip. And I'm always passing it every single time I come. I land at McCarran, grab my Uber or my cab, and go right by it. And always looks like so much fun is going on in that place.
Yeah, it's fun, and we've rolled out some really good food programs. We put together a burger that we think is competitive with any burger on the Strip, any burger that you can get in In-N-Out. It's $7.99, comes with endless fries, and it's really good. We've gone out there and created a chicken sandwich, for example, that will compete with any chicken sandwich in Las Vegas, Blue Ribbon. When we get Chick-fil-A, it's going to be competitive, and it's a really good quality product at a great value.
Vince, I don't want to take the conversation away from you, but this has been bothering me a lot. There's a White Castle on the Strip. I'm a Northeast guy, so I love White Castle at 3 a.m. after seeing a concert or something like that. But why do I have to take a cab to the In-N-Out? Why is there not anything more convenient regarding In-N-Out on the Strip?
I don't necessarily like to talk about, what Caesars, Harrah's, MGM, any of these guys are doing. In-N-Out's going into the Link.
Oh.
And it's supposed to go in, I think, Q1 of 2017.
Wow.
So you're going to get a In-N-Out Strip experience that's pretty centrally located.
Wow. Well, you heard it here, folks, first. But, after you eat that In-N-Out burger, you got to hit the Silver Sevens Casino. And how Vince, are you really appealing through your marketing efforts now? You mentioned some of the local stuff, but what kind of offers do locals really find appealing these days?
I think that a lot of the locals are very price sensitive in the marketplace. And when I say price, do you mean maybe
value sensitive?
Yeah, no, I mean, so there's two things that go into price in slot machines, right? It's the payback and then what we offer as free play, both in the mailbox and at the machine level. And so, I think local customers are pretty savvy that they understand that if they consolidate their play at one place, they're going to get more rewards on the free play, on the promotional side. So you have to be very competitive in that cycle. but also there's some appointment marketing things that we can do that drive some incremental play. Like our customers at Silver Sevens love any of the gift giveaways we do. And we're able to go and because of we have 11 facilities across the country, we're able to go and source some of these things that are, a little bit, the value in the items that we're giving them is much higher than what they would be able to go to Walmart or anything and get. So, any sort of electronics, any sort of watches, things like that, because we're buying thousands and thousands of these, we're able to do it at a pretty decent price point where we just say, hey, Silver Sevens customer, because of your loyalty to us, come in on this day at this time and get your, whether it be tablet, computer, or a watch, or some sort of electronic, the newest, hottest electronic. They come in and respond pretty well to that.
Nice. So, one of the things that I find with gaming, especially with the audience that's not locals, it's a lot more challenging to get them to get on an airplane and come. Do you focus on marketing to those types of people, or only when people are in Las Vegas visiting and you try to get them to come on down?
Yeah, no, I think that we focus on both of those. Obviously, we have our core local market, and then I spoke earlier about a bifurcated strategy. Yep. 80% of our hotel nights are by customers who are outside of Las Vegas area. So, we do a pretty good business out of Southern California. Wow. We do a pretty decent business out of Arizona. And we do pretty decent international business, believe it or not. We get a lot of Canadian, French business. People are coming to Las Vegas. They find Silver Sevens on the internet. It's close to the airport. And we get a whole heck of a lot of business from Booking.com, which is a pretty decent international platform for booking hotels. So the people who stay in the hotel and visit Silver Sevens are from literally worldwide.
Excellent. And shout out to my buddy Luz America, who I know is listening from Booking.com. See, he's plugging you. Good stuff. I love it. All right. So tell me a little bit about how maybe this strategy is changing as a lot more younger people are entering the market. You know that those pesky millennials, they're old enough now to be gambling, but they want to gamble a little bit differently, so you need to appeal to them a little bit differently. I think the days of the older middle-aged women just putting money into the slot machines all day is kind of going away now, but you need to replace and improve on that business. So how are you handling this generational shift?
Since I've been in the casino industry and I'm going on my 17th year coming up, we've always talked about how do we get younger people to become engaged in the casino. And the Las Vegas Strip is a different beast. It's one of those things where, they have the amenities that appeal to a younger clientele. It's within the regional markets. It's within, the Las Vegas local market. How do we engage these customers that are, let's say, 21 to 34.
Right.
And it's constantly been a struggle. It's a question that we've asked for the 16 years I've been working in casinos. I think we've gotten better. Our core customer is 55-year-old female slot player, right? That's the regional demographic. I think that we have been, at least in the 2 years that I've been in Affinity Gaming, we've been looking for entrance points to it. And one of the things that we've done is we've partnered with Elite, which is a premier esports provider within that marketplace. And we said, we're going to start doing on the casino floor e-gaming tournaments, anything from FIFA 17 to Madden 17 to Call of Duty to all of the things that people are playing these days. And see if we can create an entrance to that demographic by doing, it's $500 prize pools. You come in, you pay $15, and Elite runs a tournament. And at the end of the day, you get to get ranked and you get to get your share of the $500 prize pool.
That's pretty cool.
We're seeing some pretty good traction with it.
All right, so let me ask you a couple of questions about this, Vince, because I find it really, really interesting here. So these are not gambling for money on the game, just for a prize at the end, because you can't really turn Madden NFL or FIFA into a game that you play for money every single round. Like, oh, you scored a goal, you get $20. So it's more of a competition with the winners getting prizes at the end.
Correct. It's exactly that. It's a competition. It's kind of like a poker tournament, right? Only without a entry fee that goes to the house.
Right.
So people pay into the prize pool, and we redistribute the prize pool. It's actually fascinating to get into this culture and to learn. Me personally, I'm more of the casual e-gamer.
Right.
I have an Xbox system and play some of the games, but to actually see the passion that some of these guys and girls bring to Silver Sevens is pretty incredible. And, long term, one of the things that Lead is working on is developing a platform where people can actually, at one point bet in probably a pari-mutuel fashion on different players in the e-gaming world.
Wow. That's pretty cool. And finally, something to replace Highlight, which is another.
That's exactly right. The difference is that I don't know if you're familiar with some of the outlets that are out there, but there's this thing out there called Twitch where people film what they're playing and give dialogue and put it on the internet.
Right.
It's like YouTube for e-gaming. There's people or competitions out there where 500,000 people log in to watch somebody play Call of Duty or FIFA or something like that, and it can get up to 1 million, 2 million people watching this worldwide. It's a huge market.
It's really, really huge, and one that I don't think older people really understand. I don't understand it because I am unfortunately one of those older people now, but I see it through the eyes of my children. They're not old enough yet to be participating in a competition like you have every single week at the Silver Sevens Hotel and Casino, but they don't watch television. They watch people playing Minecraft or they watch people playing other video games. So our whole perception is, I think, why would anyone want to sit around and watch people play video games? But the fact is, people absolutely love it, and it draws big crowds.
Yeah, no, they did a convention, a competition in Las Vegas a few months ago, and it drew like 250 viewers, participants. It was unbelievable. 250,000. I apologize. Participants over a course of 3 days, and I just thought it was fascinating, right? Like that. People show up to watch. People show up to meet their favorite e-gaming teams. It's a pretty and their penetration into the U.S. isn't as great as it is in other countries.
Wow.
Like in Asia, people there's people who are like fanboys of e-gamers and e-gaming teams. It's a pretty interesting cultural shift.
It really is, and I think this is going to be a big future for the hospitality industry to start relating to this kind of culture and really playing into it. And that's what you guys are doing right now with Affinity Gaming. And you're getting a lot of people every single week. Is it a particular night every week?
Yeah, it's Sunday. It's every Sunday, and it starts at 5 p.m. And, first come, first serve. And once the registration period closes, we do the brackets and figure out who the winner is every single week. So, and people show up and they don't have to participate, but they watch. And we've got beer specials and wing specials.
Right.
We've got a Twitch camera and set up down there so that we can live stream it. It's a pretty cool event.
I think it's a pretty cool event, and I think that really plays into what contemporary marketing goals should be. You're driving folks to come to the casino, and while they may not be predominantly there to put money in the slot machine, they're doing what everyone else is doing in Las Vegas. You're getting people to spend money on food. You're getting people to spend a lot of money on beer, which is a real highly profitable item. And then chances are they're going to start to get inculcated into the casino culture as well and start putting money in the slot machines and maybe hitting some of those table games as well.
Yeah, I was sitting there with one of the principals of LEAT, and his name's Carson, and he's like, look, I go into casinos and I have no interest to go into slot machines. Mm-hmm. And I go, but Carson, I'm pretty sure that at some point within the last week or month, you've walked into a blackjack table or a craps table or something like that, and that may be engaging to you. He's like, yeah, no, I mean, I'll sit there and throw a couple $100 on a blackjack table. But the other thing that he does is, as more of the slot manufacturers start licensing the e-games, whether it be, there was a Pong game that was out there a couple years ago, things like that. That's a little bit interesting to the e-gamers, to the millennials. But, I think what we're ultimately going to get to is more of a skill-based gaming that has a full appeal. It's not a slot machine that has a bonus round that, people will play and that's got a skill component to it. It's going to be, fully skill-based, and people will be attracted to that within that demographic.
I think so too, and even for an old guy like myself, I find that absolutely fascinating, something I'd want to do. Already this week, Atlantic City is starting to roll out the first ones of these machines, and I should say that it will spread across the country, but you did have to change the laws in Nevada in order to make this happen, yes? Yeah,
so it's ongoing. I don't know where the legislation is right now, but, I think the process is typically you change the regulation and then there's a testing process that occurs on the machines that are skill-based. So
right.
There's Atlantic City, believe it or not, actually beat Nevada out in the implementation of this, which I thought was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, Nevada's been really good at being first in a lot of things. Your market was the first ones to start offering electronic gaming, first in the buildings themselves and then outside the building as well, and that's been nice. But I think that this is something that's going to really appeal to people a whole lot more, and it's really changing the whole way you're doing things. So now that the world is kind of changing on you, how are you viewing marketing to your, marketing for your different casinos around the country, knowing that those demographic shifts is really starting to become a shifting tsunami?
I think that's an interesting question that we are exploring. So, for example, we sit there and look at the millennial crowd and 5 years ago, we would have said, hey, we need to hit these guys with Facebook and some of the other social media stuff that's out there. And then as the millennials mature, Facebook is what their parents use right now.
Right.
They still have a presence there and they still post some stuff on there, but it's really about some of the other, I call them ADD type apps, like the Snapchats, the, things like that, Instagram, where it's, data in small bursts, and that's how you communicate with, your different customer sets. Well, I'm not particularly good at the social media side of the Snapchats, the Instagrams, any of those. Right now, we are building the foundation to get good in it, but there were a lot of other things that we had to focus on at Affinity before we could move into, some of these tertiary markets that are millennial driven.
Right, and that's a big challenge is appealing towards folks gambling all the way around the country where you're located. And I'm going to be following this story for sure as time goes on. And I'm hoping next time I'm down by you guys, I'll be there next month. I'm going to come and check out the Silver Sevens. It's been a while since I've been over there.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing some floor redesigns that I think have been a long time coming. We're making it more comfortable for our core slot customers in a lot of different sections. I think previously we tried to just put a whole bunch of machines in, a limited space, and we've come to think we got a really good slot director out there who understands that customers want to be comfortable when they're playing slot machines, and they don't want to play in a warehouse that has rows and rows of slot machines.
Right.
There's got to be some distinction. There's got to be some areas in which they're playing in a bank of machines, but the other customer isn't directly next to them. So we're doing some great things on the casino floor. We're looking at some master planning that's going to go on to provide some pretty decent food options that are branded within the four walls of Silver Sevens, and then we're gonna, look to do some hotel room remodels floor by floor to give a complete refresh to that product there. We've touched rooms, section by section. Like we have some patio rooms that lead directly to the pool that are fantastic rooms, one of the hidden treasures of Las Vegas. But we need to get better across the entire property. So we're slowly but surely making our way through it, and we love what we have there now, and I think we've got plans to make it even better.
Nice. And I am so fascinated by the psychology of the layout of the casino floor. What makes people want to, put their money down in certain locations, and how all of that works.
Yeah, no, I mean, it used to be you need to put as many machines on the casino floor as possible because people looked at win per unit, and the way you got better win per units is by putting more machines out there. And then, one of the things that I learned during my Caesar's Harrah's days is that the merchandising of the floor is pretty important. You can actually reduce your unit counts and keep slot revenue the same or increase it because you're creating a comfortable experience for your customer. And it's all about, instead of putting rows of slot machines out there, let's go out there and put actual banks that are, starbursts or octagons, so that customers have room in between each other, so that if you got somebody who's being a little bit inconsiderate, somebody who's sitting there smoking right next to you, it's not going to bother you because they're instead of 1 foot away, they're 3 feet away. And you've got your comfort, and you can play your favorite machine without being bothered by anyone else.
Beautiful. I love it. So anything else I need to know about the Affinity Gaming experience or the Silver Sevens Casino in particular?
No, I think there's been some pieces that have come out in the press in the last few months talking about Affinity Gaming. One of the things that we're proud of, every person that's at the C-level, chief operating officer, CEO, all of us, we're first time in the seat of a gaming company, and we've had an incredible ride over the last 2 years. We're one of the fastest growing regional operators, same store in America.
Nice.
And we take some pretty good pride in it. We've got a good team here who thinks about the business in a very aligned manner, and we're currently through a process where our one of our owners who owns 40% is buying, in the process of purchasing the other 60%.
Wow.
So we're really excited, to see how this transaction goes and what the future is, because they have portfolio companies that we can probably leverage going forward.
Excellent. Well, keep fighting the good fight and getting those millennials to come and spend money at your casinos.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Great. How can everybody find you? Just go to affinitygaming.com. Any other shameless plugs you want to throw out there?
Affinitygaming.com. You can go to silversevenscasino.com and find out about the e-gaming that we're doing, and some of the great food specials and hotel specials that we've got currently running.
Great. Well, thank you so much for listening, and I want to thank all of you guys for listening again to another exciting episode of the No Vacancy Podcast with me, Glenn Hausman. Thanks for listening, and I will be back next week. That is, unless I decide to give up my life and become a champion esports player. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.